This was an eventful weekend.
Yeah.
We helped dig a grave.
I
You
didn't know
turned
that's where you were going with that.
you turned 30.
Yep. The two are not connected.
They are not connected, and I
No.
will not elaborate.
Okay.
Did you have a good birthday?
I did. Yeah, it was a good time. Went out with some friends. Did some axe throwing, proper Northwoods, Wisconsin stuff.
Yep.
Had some good drinks. Breakfast with you, mom, girlfriend, all
Yep.
that good stuff.
Yep.
So
It was good breakfast.
It
I hadn't
was.
been there before, but it was good.
I've never been there either. I had a eggs Benedict flight. Had birria pork
Yeah.
and a classic one, and then a Wisconsin beer cheese.
I didn't realize it was a flight.
It was a flight. No, it wasn't just
Wow.
3. It was a flight of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, go.
Welcome to Words Are Hard, a writing and editing podcast. I'm your host, Ramsey, the extrovert in charge of keeping the conversation flowing.
And I'm your other host, Rachel, editor, indie author, and English teacher.
Today's topic, and we are talking about outlining projects. With that, I've got your fun fact for today. The world's first novel is thought to be The Tale of Genji, written in the 11th century in Japan by a woman known only as Murasaki Shikibu.
That was good.
Yeah,
That's
it was minus Shikibu sounding really weird at the end. But anyways, the 6th volume set was written likely around 1010 AD.
Mm-hmm. I really like the fact that the first known novelist is a woman. That never gets brought up.
Oh, that's fair. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would never think of that. There are tons of literary things have been done by men, but the first, what is deemed as the first distinct novel, written by a woman in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. She was a lady in waiting, technically, in the Japanese high court. Yeah, so there's your fun fact for today. With that, let's go on to our main topic. Rachel, take it away.
Before I get into outlining a novel project, how much experience do you have with outlining? Like for an essay, or did you ever outline like a report?
Go into what is outlining. Go into
setting up a structure of what you're going to write before you get to all the details.
No, not necessarily outlines, more like templates.
Oh, sure.
For my writing that I would do for work, it's very structured. Like I need to have this, and this, and then you just go through and kind of fill in the blanks. But there's a lot of narrative text in there. But yeah, so not really.
Okay, so template is a kind of outline.
Okay.
You can use templates for novels. There are some like a 3-act structure or something where you kind of plug in the plot points.
Okay.
You can do that. Are you familiar with the term pantsing versus plotting?
No.
No.
I've heard plotting.
It's a dichotomy between two types of outliners. Plotters who plot out their projects before they begin or outline their projects before they begin, and pantsers who write by the seat of their pants.
When you said pantsers, I thought it was like PANC, like
No.
pants, not pantsers.
Pantaloonsers.
Okay.
So take a guess. What do you think the difference is between the two?
Impulsive on the fly writing versus structured, organized, not you type writing.
Okay, I'm going to blow your mind here. I'm a plotter.
What?
I started as a pantser. I think I take up the middle ground between the two.
Okay.
I have a nice happy medium. I used to be a pantser, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with pantsing. Some people, that's just the way their brains work, and that's great. My problem with pantsing is that if I didn't have a specific direction where I knew I needed to go, I would end up with 200,000 words of story that I couldn't really use because it was just stuff that happened. It wasn't necessarily connected, and it didn't actually go anywhere.
Kind of writing the first thing that's coming to your head, and you're just kind of going off with it.
Right. And some of it worked. Like you would get themes that would connect unintentionally. And, I've always been a storyteller. So there's some of it that you internalize that kind of happens automatically. But there was a lot when I took my first project, WordWeaver. when I started revising it for the first time, I literally had 190,000 words. Typical novels are around 100,000,
Oh my God.
70 to 90,000. So I cut an entire novel's worth of words out of that manuscript because it was so all over the place. When you plot, you cut down on the chances of that happening. So there are different types of plots that you can, or excuse me, outlines that you can use, and they don't all need to be. I'm thinking of like the meme with the guy with all of the cards and stuff and the strings. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know that one.
Or like the conspiracy theory, and he's got like all the
yeah,
pictures all over.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia guy.
Yeah, that guy. You don't need to go to that level. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. There are kind of less detailed outlines that you could go with, like a bookend outline or a synopsis. Bookend would be like, the beginning, the ending, and you kind of let the middle. Maybe you have a handful of plot points that you're going to get to, but otherwise you just kind of let it happen as it goes. Synopsis would be, here are the main things that happen in my story.
Yeah, actually,
like a summary.
I write synopsis
Yeah.
type things. There's a header, there's a synopsis, and then there's the main body of what happened.
Right. So that would be maybe a less detailed option that you could use. And then you get into the more detailed options like the snowflake method, where you start with like your main, maybe your theme or your main character arc. And then you branch out from there into the different things that you want to happen to lead you through the story, to like the very in-depth outline where you have all of the plot points and the beats figured out, and exactly these are the scenes that are going to happen in each chapter. This is where it's going.
Interesting. So now you are the in-depth type?
I probably fall in between synopsis and in-depth. I know generally where I'm going. Usually I plan out more of the character arc. Like, this is how I want the character to change and grow.
Okay.
And then these are the things that have to happen in order to cause that change.
Okay, so with the synopsis type thing, do you sit down and literally write out a brief paragraph about what the book is and then start going into other things? Or
I don't. Some
don't?
people do.
Some people do.
Yep,
Okay.
that's a valid method. What I tend to do is I kind of start with a bookend, right? So here's how the characters, here's where they're at the beginning, and then I go to the ending and I say here are the changes that are going to happen by the end. And then I literally just pick out depending on how long the book is going to be, a handful of plot points. Here's my middle, here's the climax, here's the big thing that changes. And then what are a few things leading up to it? How do we get there? What are a few things that happen to kind of bring us to a closure? And then I fill in the details from there.
Okay, so I know this isn't a Tolkien podcast, but that's the only writer that I can think of. So with a bookend, you've got Gandalf showing up and giving Frodo the ring, and then destroying the ring.
Well, Bilbo gave him the ring, but
okay, whatever.
Frodo gets the ring.
If Frodo gets the ring, Frodo destroys the ring, and then you're just filling everything else in between. That's bookend?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
That's how I do it, which is not the only way to do it. That's just what works best for me. Usually from there, I take it a step further and then I fill in chapter by chapter. Once I have the big points, I'll say, okay, in this chapter, Frodo talks to Gandalf and Sam shows up. And then in this chapter, Merry and Pippin show up.
So then are you picking how many chapters you have? Like, I'm going to do 30 chapters or I'm going to do 18 chapters.
You can kind of figure out, so for example, a young adult fantasy novel, which is what I write, are going to be like between 70,000 and 90,000 words ish on average.
Okay.
So you can take that and you can divvy it up to, if a chapter is around, 2,000 to 5,000 words, maybe I'm going to end up with around 20, 25 chapters.
Is there kind of a rule of thumb for that thing? Or is it just
yes and no? You have averages.
You have averages.
You have averages. Okay. You don't have to stick with those numbers.
So we may be getting a little bit off topic with this, but I'm curious. Is there too long of or too short of a chapter? Like, you shouldn't go more than 10,000 words, or it shouldn't be less than 150 words.
Current trends are leaning towards shorter chapters, like around the 2,000 to 3,000 mark.
Is that just because it's like a natural pause in the book?
It is, and readers' attention spans are kind of shorter.
I think it would be kind of easier to
Right.
read a chapter and then put the book down and then go on with your day versus I have to stop in the literal middle of this story.
Right. A 10,000 word chapter is really, really long. It takes a while to get through.
Okay.
I would say, once your chapter is getting over like 5,000, maybe start thinking about cutting it. But some chapters do need to be longer.
Some just have to. Okay.
So
just feel it out.
Right. It needs to serve the story.
And hire an editor to help you go through that.
That would help. Yep. Get feedback from beta readers.
Okay.
Things like that. If you have a lot of people telling you, wow, these chapters are really short, or these chapters are kind of long, you're in control of that. You're the writer. You make the final decisions, but you can keep that feedback in the back of your mind and you can make your decisions based on that. I read a book, and I can't think of what it is now. I think it was by Shannon Hale, who wrote the Austenland books, which I'm sure you've never read.
Nope, never even heard of it.
They're really good.
I'm sure they are.
This book was not Austenland. It was a different book. It was a contemporary romance. And something happened. A character died. And the next 3 chapters after that it was like chapter 15, August, chapter 16, September, chapter 17, October. And that was a really, really effective way to show, grief and how time moves and how much of a fog she was in as she was going through these things. And the chapter was literally a single word. And it was really effective.
Each chapter was that month and what happened in that month.
Nope, it wasn't what happened. It was literally chapter 15 was August. That was it. And then you would turn the page and it was chapter 16, September. That was the whole chapter.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like a gut punch. You're reading it and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's what that feels like.
I just lost 3 months of stuff.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
But it only worked because the rest of her chapters were, 3,000 words or whatever.
Okay.
So when you get to that really short point, it drives home that emotion.
Yeah. Okay. See, I would just like short chapters because then I can be, I read 8 chapters today.
Yeah.
And it sounds impressive. In reality, it was, 150 pages.
Yeah, whatever. It works.
Okay. Where's our carry on?
Usually when you talk about outlines, you are talking about outlining the plot, the things that happen in the story.
Okay.
And there are different ways to focus on that. You can plot by framework, which is like your point of view. Are you telling it like a legend? Is it a retelling? Is it epistolary? Or you can
back that up. What is epistolary? Because I'm thinking epistolary like epistolier.
No, epistolary like letters, like a story told through letters or a journal.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can focus on structure. So you have like the 3-act structure,
Is that the rise, the climax, and the
falling or the resolution? Yep.
Okay.
You have the hero's journey.
Okay. Don't you skip that one. I like that. Save the cat.
Save the cat. Yeah, Save the cat we talked about.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that.
Last week, 2 weeks ago, recently.
Some episode ago.
It's just another structure that you can use that breaks down the story into beats. You have Aristotle's incline, which is like your exposition, and then the rising action, the climax, and the falling action, and the resolution.
How is that any difference in the 3-act structure?
It's just a little bit more.
Just a little more in depth.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yep. You want to pay attention to genre conventions. The plot of a romance is going to have different beats than a plot to a horror story.
Okay.
So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You can play with that.
Where can people go to get help with this type of thing?
There are so many resources out there.
But so I'm an aspiring writer.
Yeah.
I'm not. Let's say that I am. I'm an aspiring writer and I really want to get into this, but I need some help. What is your first go-to thing besides hiring you to help with this?
I would not suggest hiring me as a first step.
Okay. That was a shameless plug, but
sorry,
we'll
no,
move on from there.
Editors are really helpful in the, revision stage, or even like a book coach. I do offer book coaching services, but even then you need to have a little bit more of, and you can't just come to me with an idea. I mean, you can, I'll try to help you, but
Okay, so I've got an idea for a book,
Hmm.
right? How do I move forward with setting up that structure?
There are tons of templates out there. If you
Okay.
search structure template online or a hero's journey template, like you'll find a lot of those that will give you the basic breakdown of, act one, you have your introduction to the character, you have introduction to theme, etc.
Okay.
So that would be a good starting place to kind of fill in your plot points.
Okay. We'll put these in the show notes. The structures is 3 act, Save the Cat, Hero's Journey, Aristotle's Incline, and
That's not all of the structures.
oh, good lord, that's just some
Those are
of them.
just some of them,
All
some of
right.
the more
Well, we're
common ones.
gonna.
I'm not going to put that in the show notes. You can Google that.
All right. All right.
My
So
second bit of advice, I
okay.
guess, is find a writers group.
Oh, like the real
Like the
writers
Real
group
Writers group, which is the group that I'm a part of in Merrill. It doesn't need to be an in-person group. You can find lots and lots of groups online.
on like Discord. There's tons of them,
Yep, there's a
or
bunch on Discord, there's some
Reddit.
on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter. They're all over the place. So find a group, find a handful of beta readers that you can trust, that read in your genre, that can give you helpful feedback. Once you have your manuscript at least plotted out, probably even drafted, that would be a good place to then look for editors or look for
Okay.
critique partners. But yeah, it's finding people that you can bounce ideas off of and say, hey, does this make sense?
Okay. Well, so kind of as we're doing this, we're bouncing back and forth between our Google Doc for our episode outline, and you're literally on a real writers group PowerPoint. That is
Yeah,
this.
this is a presentation that I made for the Real Writers group a long time ago, like a year ago probably,
Okay.
to kind of talk about some of the different ways to outline.
Okay. Was it helpful? What was the feedback from this?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to tell me to my face, "Wow, you suck. That was horrible." But they seemed to be receptive to it.
Okay. Okay. Well, good. So these kinds of things are out there, and if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to Rachel, and she'll
Absolutely, I would be
point you
happy
in
to
the
help.
point you in the right direction for that. Okay. So is there anything else that you want to add about plotters versus pantsers, or anything else that we kind of didn't cover?
I just want to reiterate that there is no right or wrong way to outline a project. Some people kind
Yeah.
of have an internal outline. They don't ever write anything down. It just kind of goes with, you have a sense of where you want your story to go and you go with it. Just because you write it in the outline doesn't mean it has to show up exactly that way in the story. All the time, I have instances where I'm writing and the characters will do something that I was not expecting and totally derail the scene or the chapter or even a major plot point. I've had characters completely change the endings of books before.
I
They
mean, that's
just
just wild to me because I know, like, the way that you're talking about this makes it seem like they're real living things. And I know in your mind, in your imagination, like they are, but it's just kind of crazy to me that
I think
you're
it's
the one that's writing this, and somehow you can still be surprised by how something turned out.
yeah, well, you get to the point where you internalize the story and the story structure and you get where, this would be a really fun twist and it happens kind of subconsciously.
Hmm.
So when you're writing, that twist will come out and obviously it's still coming from you,
Right.
but that twist will come out and you'll sit there and you're like, "Oh my goodness,
I don't
where
know.
did that come from?"
I'm just picturing like you're sitting there typing at your laptop and your eyes gloss over and you're like in a trance, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you read that, you're like, wow, where did that come from?
I don't know that I've ever gone into a trance, but I have definitely like a character will say something or character will do something and then I'll sit there and be like, "What?
Where did that come
what
from?
what what am I going to do with this now?" Like it's a great plot point. I love it. I'm keeping it, but I don't know what to do with this.
Well, all right, there you go. Well, that being said, let's move on to the word of the day. And what the heck is that?
The word of that the word of the day is I haven't had enough caffeine.
Let's
Shut up.
try that again.
Today's word of the day is obfuscate.
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 It means to darken, obscure, right? Obscure,
Oh, okay.
confuse,
Okay.
bewilder. So literally, it can be like to put something in the dark to make something darker, or it can be figuratively like you're in the dark about what it means to outline a project.
I mean, so many of these, I just Like, why? This is that purple.
Purple prose?
Yeah, purple. You're too purple. If you're going to use this word, maybe but as a person who does not read things, if I were to be reading a manuscript and I were to come across that word, I would just be like, why? Why use that word?
There are a lot of reasons to use words like this in a manuscript. Maybe it fits the tone of your narrator. Maybe you have more of a learned or a scholarly character that's narrating.
Yeah.
That would fit the tone then.
I mean, I guess.
Or a
but
character who's talking. And you know what? It's okay to use words that are not in the common vernacular.
It is.
Readers
I
can
don't.
look up words, or they
Yeah.
can get it from context clues, or they can look at it and be like, yeah, all right, I don't know that word, moving on. That's okay.
Yes. And I'm not saying that you can't do this. I'm just.
That is what you were saying. You were very judgy.
I was. Okay, I was. Do what you want. It's your book. I'm just going to judge the heck out of you later when I'm reading it. No, I'm kidding. If you want to use obfuscate, go for it.
This is another Latin word.
Go figure. Ob in front of or before. Fuscara. Fuscara. Make it dark. There you go. Obfuscate. Obfuscate. Good God. I just cut all that out.
That was good.
Okay.
Do the CTA.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Share with your friends or someone who needs to learn some grammar. You can also sign up for Rachel's editing newsletter at rosedeanediting.com. That's ROSEDENE editing.com. Join us next week as we dive into dialogue and everything that goes with it. Remember, words are hard.
We're here to help.